nice cold weather outside. Unfortunately, it's not too bad at the moment. I thought more about this, and it does not feel right that the last video just got cut off suddenly and I was not able to finish it up. But then I realized I might as well just do a part 2. Talking about the effects of what you know and what you may find out. When I say you know, like the effects of what you know, it's more of what you've gathered over the years in trying to find answers. And that digging has caused some massive internal struggles as well as external struggles with some of the people that you may know with your relationships and friendships. Parents and your spouse come to mind because it seems like the digging done by others is done very differently depending upon where they come from and what is important to them. Their values, their beliefs, what they grew up on, even with what they grew up on. Because some things do not change while other things are extremely slow to change. And talking more about, I will link this another video down below. It's up to you if you want to watch or not. There is good content, but it's very damaging in its own right. But as I said, it's very extremely good content. It's just damaging. The phrase "the truth sets you free" comes to mind, but also there's a lot of truth that is very indiscriminate in how and what it damages. Like, it'll damage you as well as break old unhealthy habits. And that's something that I've noticed as well that I've been thinking about for quite some time. I've actually changed my stance, and I don't believe the black pill is related to, it's tied to nihilism, but I don't believe it is there to cause problems or to cause you self-harm, and the way it's been described to me before has been somewhat inaccurate, or so it seems. Being tied to depression, being tied to some of the symptoms is a lot more understandable than just simply saying that it's all negative and should be avoided. I don't remember what all I was told years ago, or else I would have said it by now. But in all honesty, there's a lot of hard truth out there that is just simply avoided. And some of it is very, very realistic. It's based on a lot of crap and garbage that you see in today's world within some of the struggles that you would be coming across, specifically with relationships and about the nature of both men and women. It seems to be more on the women's side, but only because of the unhealthy attachments and what has been presented to women has been very different than what has been presented to men. In fact, there has actually been quite a bit that seems to be to have been taken away from men, and that's in form of structure and leadership, from basically fathers to good guidance. While for women, when I was growing up, it was basically Disney princess and about how women are all special. And that has led to quite a bit of issues with entitlement, possibly to this whole snowflake and oversensitivity as well, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so hard topics. What do you do with them? What does the church do with them? There are things that will lead you to places that you will be looking in and wondering if you should go inside. And the questions that you have, you're not finding answers to them in the places that you normally go to. Now, for me, just to keep it simple here, there's a lot of places in church. There's a lot of places I thought I would find answers to inside the church that I was not. I just never found anything until I left, until I walked outside and started looking elsewhere. I've always questioned about whether or not you can find the best answers within the area that you were familiar with, or if they're found outside. And to be honest, I think when it comes down to matters of faith and ethics and moral, right and wrong, when it comes down to basically religion has that covered, while anything that is on a physical level, a behavioral level, you might actually need someone who's specialized in that particular field. And the point proven would be, if you have medical issues, you're not going to go to a pastor. You're going to go to a doctor. And anything else, you will go see the right person. You will go to the right place to go get what you need to go fix the problem. And I've noticed there's been a lot of people trying to go to the wrong places for help. And that has also crossed my mind, because when it comes down to it, reality is extremely brutal, and it's being influenced in several different ways. However, some of it is not categorized, and as I said, some of the answers they actually are hidden, and you actually have to do some digging for them. Now, still a red light, quite irritating. I might actually have to take a right, and I might as well. I'll just do a U-turn. Easiest thing to do, right? That's frustrating. Just do a right turn, do a U-turn, and come right on back here. Sorry for that. Kind of lost my train of thought. But regardless, there are some very good questions that need answers. And you know what? Maybe it's okay to not have to worry about these answers. Finding these answers. That sometimes what you learn in the struggle is actually enough. I would also have to say that I wonder if this is on a personal level, like for personal goals and reasons to fix yourself. Maybe that actually is acceptable, but when you have other people who you are responsible for, maybe that's not really needed or helpful. Maybe it just causes more issues and problems. Knowledge can be dangerous to the user. Okay, let me rephrase that. If the truth can set you free, by breaking old and unhealthy habits, as well as, so if the truth can break old and unhealthy habits, it's probably likely to break you too, and be indiscriminate with what it breaks. That's a possibility. Truth can be very dangerous. And in this particular case, as I talked with a friend of mine yesterday, a very good old friend of mine, we go back 20 years ago. However, I would have to say that reconnecting has made some things we've become more appreciative after reconnecting after all these years. But our situations are very different. And honestly, he doesn't have the same struggles or issues that I have, and vice versa. I don't have the same struggles or the responsibilities, because he's married and he's got a family, and his situation is very much different and slightly better than mine. Much better than mine. But at the same time, he has also more responsibilities. And to the point that I'm trying to get up to, when you've got these responsibilities and you are handling something dangerous, is that something that you should be doing? Being aware of things that are actually problems that are not directly affecting you, your life, your relationships, your family, should they be handled? Should they be pursued? there may not ever actually be one answer, but several. And I have realized some other things that I will actually ponder and keep to myself for the time being. Not everything needs to be said at once in this video. However, I have to back up a little bit here and say that, okay, hang on. Okay, gotta drive up here. I can't see the lanes, so that's a little bit frustrating and hard right there. I've got to actually be able to see the lanes. Yeah, but anyway, as I was saying, I want to back up, and I want to say that when you are pursuing something, when you let it, and this is under the assumption that it is important. If this grows beyond your capacity to be able to safely walk away and to put it down, that should also influence your answer as far as whether or not you should handle it and whether or not it's healthy for you. I think finding answers is completely acceptable and is normal. So when it comes down to that, depending upon where you go, you will only get certain answers, more likely than not. And I'm specifically talking about the church with that in mind. I have grown up, not in the church the whole entire time, but I've grown up when I was a kid. I was in the church the whole time, but once I left and joined the Army, that changed. And I learned quite a bit different lessons while I was in the military, in the Army. Now, I didn't have any relationship problems in the Army either. That started when I left. I left active duty in 2011, and I joined the reserves, and that lasted up to 2015. However, between that time period when I actually tried working relationships, everything seemed to fail, and I was always trying to figure out why. So, finding answers as far as being single, this is incredibly important. And there will always be more questions. But in regards to like black pill, since I do want to try to finish this up, I need to focus on the roads. I didn't realize how bad they're starting to get. Look, it's nice to get more information on specific topics outside of the areas that you would normally find them in or are comfortable in finding them in. And specifically with family who you trust who actually are experienced in some areas, like being a health provider, for example. Getting information that is awesome for your health from, like your father, for example. Maybe, just maybe, it's healthy to try to find some answers elsewhere for a change. Why? So you can move on with your life and get unstuck and move around some of the problems that's currently in your life. Because some of these solutions cannot be approached from the same way. I don't like any concept of the black pill. It's not something I grew up with. It's not something that hits me well, but I see the value of it, and I appreciate for what it does and what it is informative of. However, I want to say that it distinctly pulls away value from, it separates value, how do I say this? It separates the person from anything spiritual, and value is lost in the process. Specifically, when it comes down to Christianity, saying that you are an image bearer of Christ, and your value comes from that, And the black pill kind of separates that. It basically takes away value from the person, and I have to question that. I have to look at it, and I have to see just how relevant it is to me personally. More importantly, there's other topics that, well, they do not affect me personally, but they may provide some answers for some of the issues and problems that I'm currently struggling with, or that are currently on my plate, so to speak, because I'm not actually struggling with them right now, but I have in the past. However, I don't want to just simply sit by and lose yet another friend, because I believe, and I have talked with him enough to actually get an idea that some of his struggles and issues were related directly to the ones that I struggle with. Being single and not finding someone to have a relationship or a family with, and being told several things like, you just have to wait for the right person to come along and just, be yourself. Those are the two most common things any man will hear when pursuing a relationship and just not being successful. And obviously those are just generic and they're not very helpful. They don't actually point out what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, what you could improve upon, and more importantly, the condition. Basically, it doesn't point out whether or not the people in that area are even worth pursuing, and if they're good quality people that you want to have in your life to begin with. This applies to both sexes. I'm not going to point fingers and say, things are all your fault or whatever. It doesn't go like that. There are issues with both sexes. Manipulation, games, being very shallow. Yeah, it's just shown differently in both sides. Same crap, just shown differently. I've said this before a couple times offline, but the thing is, it's just true. I don't personally like Maytel. I don't like the red pill, but I see the value in them, and I see that they are necessary because of some of the crap that's going on. When there are hard issues, you need a hard response sometimes to actually deal with it. And you don't always have people with experience there to actually help you out with some of this stuff. Like, some of this just honestly sucks, and it takes time to understand and digress and to see how it applies to you on a personal level. There's a lot of good things that I've heard. There's very little on how to make it apply to you personally. Like, it's assumed that every man and every woman knows themselves. No. Let's just make the assumption here that most people have issues with looking at the hard stuff in their life. Because I have seen that be true time and time again. There's a lot of hard issues that are just simply avoided. It's uncomfortable. It will make you uncomfortable for a reason. Because this is like some of the worst parts of you that you don't want to be shown or exposed. And honestly, it's a lot easier letting that stuff lie and sweep it under the rug than to actually try to fix it and possibly fail. Though I would like to point out, you can have pride in the fact that you did attempt to face the problem. I will use myself specifically as an example here because many people need this. I have taken one of those 30-day courses on how to break free from addiction from porn. Now, the issue is I kind of became half stuck, half free. I'm no longer addicted to porn, but I can't kick it from my life, like permanently. It's the most annoying, frustrating thing to actually deal with. Like, there are some times where I see things, ads or whatever, that are very suggestive, and I just I just completely ignore it, go right on about my business. But there are other times where I can't. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. And at the very beginning, when this was back in 2014 when I took the class. At the very beginning, it was a lot harder. It was different. But having the experience now with what I've gone through and what I'm able to look back and see what I've been able to overcome, that has been very, very helpful and instrumental. And when it comes down to a lot of these topics with like the reality and stuff, the two things that I am not hearing spoken about is the fact that A, everything takes time to be absorbed and understood, and B, it's best to stick in your lane with what directly affects you or your life, or those in your life. So, good topics. There's some very good topics out there, but like, sometimes I get the distinct impression the people talking about them are just simply musing and wondering to themselves. And that it doesn't actually apply to them on a personal level. And to a degree that makes sense on like discussing some of this important stuff, but at the same time, it's like, why? It doesn't relate to you, so why does it matter to you? Why are you worried about it? Yeah. Regardless, I'm gonna try to finish things up here and just say that the removal of structure and foundations in people's lives, as well as foundations and meaning, like, for example, making sex be completely public has kind of ruined a lot of relationships, and people are hopping in the relationship with one foot in, ready to hop out, and then just simply going straight for the sex. Like, and you wonder why your relationships fail, because you're okay. That's one example. Another one just happens to be with focusing on what you can get, and not caring about anyone or anything else, and completely ignoring or forgetting or not realizing you get out what you put in. That is not something that is only in a relationship. It seems like it, and it probably feels like it, but it's not. Your work ethics reflect that. If you don't care about a lot of things, they will be reflected by how you act and what you say. I have learned that, and it's helped me to try to figure out what to avoid and what I want to have in my own life or a personal life. Anyway, I'll figure out what I'm going to label this video, because there's a lot of good stuff here, and to be honest, this topic it's interesting and painful and very much needed. I would have to say, just a brief breakdown here, when talking about the different various pills, because that's kind of what the whole point of this video was about, which is basically about God and the Black Pill Part 2. I'll probably just throw that under there and just do a Part 2 and cover some of the niche stuff, the very smaller things that don't really fall into this particular category that still are worth mentioning. I'll probably lump them all together here. The red pill and the blue pill. Those who are aware, those who are woke, and those who... Okay, so the red pill is about those who are aware of, problems and issues. The blue pill with those who are considered to be Sims, or basically woke. Let me see what else here. I want to say that there's a pink pill out there that has to deal with men who are effeminate, those who are not traditional men by any means. There happens to be the black pill that is tied to depression, that's tied to reality, and understanding some very dark truths, painful truths. There happens to be a few others out there, but I'm not really sure. I mean, sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's being legit, it's being serious. This is all just another form of categorization, really. It just makes certain things simple and easier to understand and to figure out and all that. And that is a whole topic in and of itself for another discussion, because categorization is something both sexes do. They just do it very differently and they approach it very differently. Until next time.